Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down every single game of the 2023-2024 season for your Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to be talking about the most recent game that happened as they're starting their first game out of their 4-game road stand, as they're heading to Ottawa to take on the Ottawa Senators. So your Vegas Golden Knights, this was an interesting game, a good back and forth, but not the ending that we were hoping for your Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to talk about everything here on the show. Go to PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Check out all of the great content we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on here, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So go to PRConnectionsRadio.com and check out all of these shows we have on the network. We also have social media pages for Vegas Hockey Hub. We are everywhere. So we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We are on all major platforms at Vegas Hockey Hub. If you want to follow your host, I am on all social media platforms at Ian J. Rachiele. And if you want to read some articles that I publish articles to thesportsangle.com. I have uploaded hockey articles in the past. So if you want to go to thesportsangle.com and read those articles, that is something that I do off this show. I would appreciate that as well. So for this game, to kick this off and getting into the pre-game notes, let's talk about an interesting trade proposal that could be happening between these two teams. Now, anyone who knows hockey knows that, it's about a week and a half until the NHL trade deadline. And since you have about 10 days left, there's going to be mock trades, there's going to be trade proposals. But one player that keeps getting mentioned for our Vegas Golden Knights is Vladimir Tarasenko. So Vladimir Tarasenko, this is a guy that you really want to have on your organization, a former Stanley Cup champion, a guy who was a star with the St. Louis Blues all those years ago. Vladimir Tarasenko is a current member of the Ottawa Senators, the team the Vegas Golden Knights are playing now. And there has been some reports that the Vegas Golden Knights do have some interest in Ottawa Senators forward Vladimir Tarasenko. Now, the trade proposal is them giving up Lucas Cormier, a really good defenseman, one of the guys that we've talked about on this show before. We did a player profile on him on Vegas Hockey Hub before, and giving up a conditional first-round pick. Now, as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, I wouldn't do it because a conditional first-round pick could be a very big deal if that condition is met. However, I am more of a fan of Lucas Cormier. I think he's a very skilled defenseman. I like his upside. And more importantly, if you're getting a rental in Tarasenko, because he's going to be a free agent next year, if he is a rental, if you're only getting him for 20 regular season games and then whatever the amount of games they are in the postseason, I would want to at least get something back in return that would be a long-term future. I mean, I've talked about the fact of getting Riley Smith back, calling up the Pittsburgh Penguins and bringing him back. But granted, that's a fan request, not a realistic request. Anthony Duclair with the San Jose Sharks. I know that he's a very talented forward, somebody the Vegas Golden Knights could bring onto their middle six. We also did, for example, talking about Jordan Eberle with the Seattle Kraken. If Seattle decides to sell off assets, maybe getting Jordan Eberle from the Seattle Kraken. I've even heard reports about Pavel Buchnevich from the St. Louis Blues possibly coming here as well, and kind of a similar package somewhat to Vladimir Tarasenko. But when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, I personally want a defensive-minded forward. I want someone that's going to bring a lot more defensive-minded mentality to the Golden Knights. I know this guy's no longer in Detroit, but back in the day, the Red Wings had this guy named Anthony Mantha, and I think that he would be a really good player. If the Vegas Golden Knights could get the cap to work, I actually think he'd be a great player for the team. I like his upside. I like what we've seen from him in the past. So when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights, there's so many teams that could be on the chopping block and could be rumored to be coming here. But Vladimir Tarasenko, the trade proposal is, once again, defenseman Lucas Cormier and a conditional 2024 first-round pick. Now, I believe the condition is that the Vegas Golden Knights reach the Stanley Cup Finals, it would become a first-round pick. If not, it would become a 2024 second-round pick. If I remember the article correctly, I believe that's the condition, that the Vegas Golden Knights get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and because Vladimir Tarasenko would be a part of it, he would be a first-round pick on that condition, but the Golden Knights managed to lose in the first round, second round, or somehow over the last 25 games, we blow this season away, and we miss the playoffs, it would become a second-round pick. So, yeah, just wanted to very quickly mention that because when it comes to Vladimir Tarasenko, I understand the upside. I get it. A veteran, Stanley Cup experience. He won a cup. He was teammates with Alex Pietrangelo out there in St. Louis. He was teammates with Ivan Barbashev out there in St. Louis. He would have a little bit of chemistry. You know some of the guys here already. But, to me, unless you're getting something long-term, like maybe if he signed a one-year deal off of that contract so he would stay in Vegas long-term, I would like it. But just being a rental is a bit concerning for me. And it's nothing to do with Vladimir Tarasenko's talent. It's just the rental side of it. I don't know if anyone else feels the way that your host Ian Rachiele does, but I'm not the biggest fan of rentals. Now, in the pregame notes, the roster moves for this game, Brendan Bryson, former first-round pick, and Byron Frazee has been called up from the Henderson Silver Knights. They would be on the third line for your Vegas Golden Knights in this game. And unfortunately for him, Gregory Diancinco, he has been sent down once again to the Henderson Silver Knights. Now, because of what happened to Mark Stone earlier this week in Nashville, it makes sense that they did call up Bryson because they had to fill a spot in the winger. And then Brett Howden being day-to-day with an upper body injury, it makes sense that Byron Frazee would be called up. He would be in the lineup. And it's just something that does make a lot of sense for a Vegas Golden Knights team because this is an organization who you have to use your AHL, you have to use your Henderson players when Vegas guys are getting hurt. We got 7 guys on the IR right now. Now, in net for your Vegas Golden Knights, after having a brutal second and third period performance against Toronto, Logan Thompson, LT, back in net for your Vegas Golden Knights. So Logan Thompson, hopefully he did a better job against Ottawa than he did in Toronto because that Toronto game was just absolutely atrocious. But the Ottawa Senators, this should be a better game for him. He can kind of be able to shrug it off, take those hits, and now he's going to go to Ottawa, get in the crease, stand, right in front of the net, and be able to do his job for Vegas. Of course, with this recap show, we will break down every single aspect of this game and really talk about what happened in this game overall when it comes to the Ottawa Senators and Toronto Maple Leafs game. The Ottawa Senators and Vegas Golden Knights game. Toronto Maple Leafs, that is last game, which I definitely want to forget and wish we can move on from. So you also have, when it comes to this game, the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. So the starting lineup in this game, you have on the first line, Ivan Barbashev, Jonathan Marchessault, and Nick Waugh. This team, like I said, the first line really has gelled ever since the Jack Eichel injury in Boston. And Nick Waugh, Marchessault, and Barbashev have contributed a lot on this first line. On the second line for the Vegas Golden Knights, for your second line, you have Chandler Stevenson, William Karlsson, and Michael Amadio. So Michael Amadio, he has been, really been a solid contributor. You can put him pretty much in any line, and it will work for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, yes, Michael Amadio, William Karlsson, and Chandler Stevenson. On line 3, you have Brendan Bryson, Sheldon Rempel, and Byron Frazee. So, Brendan Bryson, you pretty much have the AHL line of sorts really on this lineup here for the Vegas Golden Knights at this situation. And then line 4, you have Mason Morelli, you have Paul Cotter, and Keegan Kolazar. So Keegan Kolazar, he has really been your fourth line staple this season. Paul Cotter, he has been just keep on getting delegated and keeps going back down and down in the starting lineup. And then Mason Morelli, who's been a really feel-good story ever since he made his debut a couple of games ago, and he had his NHL debut against San Jose a while back. He has been a good contributor on the fourth line. Kolazar and Morelli have really shown some chemistry there. And then you have the Paul Cotter situation there as well. So those are the 4 lines when it comes to the forwards. On defense, you have Haig and Whitecloud, Martinez and Pietrangelo, and McNabb and Theodore, with Logan Thompson in net. Now, getting into the game itself between Ottawa and Vegas, there was a lot of action in this game, but the first action that we have to talk about is someone who just broke the 30-goal mark on the season. And considering that we are only 58 games in, this is absolutely incredible. The fact that this guy right here has scored 30 goals this season for your Vegas Golden Knights. This guy is a misfit. This guy's going to be a legend. I've made a video on this channel before on Vegas Hockey Hub saying that when the Vegas Golden Knights have their first jersey retirement, it's going to be this guy right here. When they put a jersey in the rafters and they raise it to T-Mobile Arena, it is going to be this guy right here who is going to be celebrated, honored, and really become a legend with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And of course, I'm talking about, with 5 minutes into the first period, Jonathan Marchessault, assisted by William Karlsson, and it would be a 1-0 game in that situation there. And I will say, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, this was a situation where Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, over the last 7 seasons, we've seen how good the chemistry is. I mean, I talk about Barbashev and Marchessault this season. Well, that has nothing compared to what Marchessault and Karlsson have done over the last couple of seasons. I mean, William Karlsson just has to give the puck to Marchessault. He already knows it's going to be there. And if Marchessault needs to pass the puck over to Karlsson, Karlsson already knows it's there. They've done this so long, and they've been on the same line for so many years that they have that chemistry already built in. It's already a part of their chemistry there. So really good job by Jonathan Marchessault, and then the assist, a good setup by William Karlsson to make this a 1-0 game. So after a good start by the Vegas Golden Knights getting up to a 1-0, there would be some unfortunate news as Alec Martinez would actually go down the tunnel towards the half of the first period. Now, it is unknown what it was, but he definitely was in pain for sure, as we saw him, going in pain, going down to the bench, and then going into the tunnel. So Alec Martinez, unfortunate situation there. Now, for Alec Martinez, he actually would come back during the game. He would play 18 minutes during this game. But anytime you see a guy go down the tunnel, it can mean 2 things. It can mean that either this guy is going to be hurt and we're going to have to get an injury update, or he had an equipment situation and he had to get, his skates. He had to get a new blade. There was maybe something with his pads. There's just always something equipment-wise that could be possible there. Alec Martinez down the tunnel in the first period. And when it comes to defense, that would be a big deal, considering the Vegas Golden Knights. You just got Shea Theodore back. The first time in really a long time this year, you have all 6 of your defensemen in the starting lineup playing for Vegas. Now, yes, Kaden Korczak is a good defenseman. He's a good up-and-coming defenseman. He's a prospect in Henderson. You could have him be part of the organization if you need. You also have Lucas Cormier, Tobias Bjornfoot. He's down to Henderson. So when it comes to Alec Martinez, if there is an injury of some sort, you could actually have somebody get called up and take his place in the lineup. But we're hoping that isn't the case. That would be worst case scenario there. So Alec Martinez going down the tunnel in the first period. That was a situation for your Vegas Golden Knights. But the chaos would still ensue in the first period, as there would still be a bunch of action in this game. as there would be a kind of corresponding penalties here, as Matthew Joseph would have a roughing penalty against Brendan Bryson, and this is after Brendan Bryson would trip Tim Stutzel, and it would be a corresponding penalties. Both guys would go to the box. It'd be a 4-on-4 situation between Ottawa and Vegas in that situation. After those two penalties would kind of wind down, Michael Amadio, about 2 minutes later, would have a hooking penalty on Jake Sanderson. So the Vegas Golden Knights would go to the box for the second time in the first period. But good news for the penalty kill, they would do their job perfectly, and they would kill off that penalty from Michael Amadio. And then the last penalty in the first period, Zach Whitecloud, a cross-checking penalty against former Vegas Golden Knight Eric Brandstrom. So Eric Brandstrom, Zach Whitecloud, now obviously Eric Brandstrom, who they traded to get Mark Stone during one of the early years of the Vegas Golden Knights organization. And Eric Brandstrom has become an everyday defenseman, really in Ottawa, kind of building himself up there as a defensive pairing in Ottawa. So the Vegas Golden Knights, the good news that they had is you really can look at the penalty kill and be amazed at the fact that they went 3-for-3 on the penalty kill to begin the first period. That is a fantastic job by the Golden Knights. The special teams really kicked in to this game against Ottawa. And very similar to what happened in Toronto, the game that happened previously, the penalty kill stepped up and did its job when it mattered. So the penalty kill has really been a bright spot over the last couple of games for your Vegas Golden Knights, and this is definitely one of those games there. Now, to get into the start of the second period, it would actually end up going well for your Vegas Golden Knights, as Parker Kelly would get a holding penalty for Ottawa, and it would be going to the box. So your Vegas Golden Knights would be on the power play, and someone would step up for your Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, yes, he would. He would step up. He would be on the penalty kill. And, he'd be on the power play. He was a special team specialist in this game tonight. And more importantly, this is someone who over the last couple of weeks has really proved himself. This is a guy who really struggled the first 2 months of the year. A lot of people are questioning what is up with this guy. But over the last couple of weeks, he has been scoring goals. He's been getting good assists. He's been a good team player for Vegas. And with his 11th goal of the season on the power play, congratulations, Chandler Stevenson, with an assist by Jonathan Marchessault and Shea Theodore to make it a 2-0 game here. So Chandler Stevenson, I really have to say that I am impressed with what he has done as of late. I was not the biggest fan of Chandler Stevenson to begin the year. I thought that there was being a massive downplay and there was a massive downgrade in his performance to begin the year. But by the midway point, he has really stepped up for your Vegas Golden Knights. So I have to give credit where credit is due. Chandler Stevenson, he has been scoring a bunch of goals lately and has stepped up on the top six, regardless of who his line mates are. Stevenson and Carlson actually did a stellar job. We've noticed that Stevenson and Carlson kind of do have some interesting similarities there when it comes to the way they play. So Chandler Stevenson, 11th goal of the season to put the Vegas Golden Knights up by 2. Now, the penalties would kick in once again as Brady Tkachuk would get an interference penalty against Alex Pietrangelo, and they would go back to the box, and your Vegas Golden Knights would not capitalize on the situation. So they would go 1-for-3 on the power play for this game. However, there would be a situation by Ottawa that they would take advantage of, as halfway into the second period, Thomas Chabot, with his 5th goal of the season, assisted by longtime Philadelphia Flyer Claude Giroux and Matthew Joseph, to be a 2-1 game with your Vegas Golden Knights. And I don't think a lot of people were worrying or questioning what was going to happen. Vegas Golden Knights, 2-goal lead. You know what? The Golden Knights are going to be okay. So, Vegas Golden Knights 2 at this point up by 1. And it was just a situation where it was just a good goal by Chabot. Really nothing you could do there on Logan Thompson. And then there would be a penalty, a very costly penalty for Vegas, as Paul Cotter would get a hooking penalty against former Golden Knight prospect Eric Brandstrom, and he would go to the box. And unfortunately, this has been a reoccurring theme this season. One of the negatives about Paul Cotter is him getting costly penalties. Him going to the box when Vegas does not need him to go to the box. And this really impacted Vegas because in the second period, the Vegas Golden Knights would give up a power play goal. So Drake Bafferson, with his 18th goal of the season, assisted by Brady Tkachuk and Josh Norris, and this would be a tie ball game at 2. And unfortunately, that 2-goal lead that you had to begin the second period, that 2-goal lead that you had gotten a good job doing, you just squander it and by the end of the second period. The first one was not the Golden Knights' fault. That was just a simple goal. But this one could have been prevented if you didn't have Paul Cotter get a hooking penalty. If Paul Cotter did not take an untimely penalty, the Golden Knights would have not been in this situation. So you can put some blame here on that part. Now, as you got to the end of the second period, Vegas tied at 2, and it's very important to remember that your Vegas Golden Knights at this point, you still have an advantage. You still seem like momentum's on your side. You're going up against the Ottawa Senators team that is 25, 27-3. They're right now mostly focused on the draft lottery. They're going to be offloading a bunch of people at the trade deadline this offseason. Plenty of people are going to go from Ottawa. So Vegas had some momentum, right? Wrong. As 5 minutes into the third period, Josh Norris, with his 16th goal of the season, assisted by, and I've said his name multiple times in this show, Eric Brandstrom with the assist, and Thomas Chabot, who scored the first goal for Ottawa, had an assist on this one. And just like that, in a span of a little over 20 minutes of play, Vegas Golden Knights went from 2-0, solid win of incoming, to being down by 1 and having to play catch-up. And the rest of the third period, it was very sloppy play by Vegas. I mean, there was an opportunity to score. Sheldon Rempel, surprisingly, he actually stepped up. And there was a shot that just went a bit wide from Anton Forsberg. And if that had just not gone a little bit over, I think that the goal would have gone in. The Golden Knights would have tied up at 3. But yeah, there was a shot by Sheldon Rempel kind of towards the middle of the third period that I thought had a shot at going in. But with 2 minutes left in the third period, who would step up for Vegas? Of course, it would be Chandler Stevenson. So Chandler Stevenson's second goal of the game, 12th goal of the season, assisted by Shea Theodore and William Karlsson. So Shea Theodore, a 2-assist night for him. William Karlsson, 2-assist night for him. But Chandler Stevenson, a 2-goal performance and helping the Vegas Golden Knights get back into the even category and tying this game up with 2 minutes left in the game. And you would head into overtime here for your Vegas Golden Knights. And in overtime, nothing would happen in this situation. Chandler Stevenson got a little bit close into getting a shot off and maybe getting past Anton Forsberg, but it just went clink, and we had to continue into overtime. Now, after the overtime play, your Vegas Golden Knights would have 3, Ottawa Senators would have 3, and it would be a tie game going into a shootout for your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, to start this out, Nick Waugh, he would go up against Anton Forsberg. It would be saved by Forsberg. Josh Norris would go up against Logan Thompson. His shot would go wide against Logan Thompson. But Tim Stützle, the top 5 pick by the Ottawa Senators, a future star alongside Josh Norris and Brady Tkachuk, he would go up against Logan Thompson, and he would do a good wrist shot, get past Logan Thompson, unfortunately, and it would actually score for the Ottawa Senators. No problem. Jonathan Marchessault, it would go wide to Forsberg, and then Shea Theodore tried a backhand, and Forsberg caught it with his glove, and it would be game over as your Vegas Golden Knights would lose in a crushing shootout loss 4-3. So really disappointing. Your Vegas Golden Knights were up 2-0, and they lose 4-3. And it just really shows that the Vegas Golden Knights did not capitalize, and that penalty from Paul Cotter really did cost them in terms of momentum, in terms of energy, and really how it felt in the building was that the Golden Knights kind of just went into neutral after that penalty there. So when it comes to this game, player of the game, I'm going to give it to Chandler Stevenson, a 2-goal performance by him. Yes, William Karlsson had 2 points. Shea Theodore had 2 points for sure, but I got to give it to a 2-goal performance and a guy who has really stepped up, and that is Chandler Stevenson. Now, blowing a 2-goal lead, really unfortunate for Vegas, and hopefully when we go to Toronto, which is our most upcoming game, we do not blow a lead. If we go up against Toronto, hopefully we don't lose by 4. Okay? Hopefully the CFL team in Toronto doesn't beat the Las Vegas Raiders 7-3. So when it comes to the situation there, yes, you blew a lead, and that's just the way it is. So crushing loss there, but here's the win-loss record for your Vegas Golden Knights at this moment in time. The Vancouver Canucks are pulling away right now in the Pacific Division. Edmonton is catching Vegas right now. And then you have LA that's just kind of fighting for a wild card spot as we speak. You're going to go up against Toronto. Then you have Boston. And then you have Buffalo back to back to back. And then you'll have your first home game against the Vancouver Canucks, and that will be next week. So that will be the schedule for your Vegas Golden Knights moving forward. And this will be a good situation here. Now, getting into team stats and getting into what happened in this game, before we get off the air, the Ottawa Senators outshot Vegas 33-29. Ottawa had 2 more hits than Vegas did, 34-32. And the Vegas Golden Knights had 4 penalties in this game. Ottawa only had 3. Now, the faceoff circle was won mightily by the Ottawa Senators, as Ottawa won the faceoff circle 61% of the time. That's a lot of faceoff wins for Ottawa. Now, the power play opportunity, Vegas went 1 for 2. Ottawa went 1 for 3. On a penalty kill, Vegas went 2 for 3, and Ottawa went 1 for 2. Block shots, Ottawa had 22. Vegas had 19. And in the takeaway column, Ottawa had 1 more takeaway than Vegas, 9-8. So this has been a fun edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, continue watching hockey, go support junior hockey, and go Knights, go.